Gospel Reflections for the 19th Sunday of Ordinary Time, Year C, 7th of August 2022. The Gospel text is from Luke chapter 12, verses 32 to 48. The main focus of this Gospel reading is this: we are called to live out our faith vibrantly by sharing our earthly wealth with the needy, by remaining vigilant to meet the Lord at any time, and faithful to our duties and responsibilities. In brief, the main theme is this: sharing our goods, vigilance, and faithfulness to our duties. In today's gospel text, Jesus urges his disciples to live out their faith vibrantly in three ways. Number one, by sharing what they possess in verse 33. Number two, by being constantly prepared to meet the Master when he returns at an unexpected hour in verse 40, and by remaining faithful to the duties entrusted to them until the Master arrives in verses 42 and 42 to 43. Jesus' instruction in today's gospel to his little flock of disciples to sell their possession and give alms is not to be taken literally, but is only an example of an attitude of sharing something of our wealth for charity. If we become too greedy for earthly treasures and put our heart and soul only in them, there are hundreds of ways nowadays, hundreds of ways how they can perish and be lost forever. Nowadays, thieves and moths coming to destroy our treasure mentioned by Jesus in verse 33 include also fluctuations in stock market, fall in currency rates and interest rates, inflations, bankruptcy, natural and man-made disasters. If we consider God and the needy or poor as our real treasures, then our heart will follow them and their concerns, because Jesus says, where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, in verse 34. In the present gospel text, Jesus instructs his disciples to be constantly ready and prepared to meet their Master when he returns from the wedding banquet in verse 36. This returning refers to his parousia, or the second or final coming in glory, and wedding banquet refers to his coming from his heavenly abode. He mentions about three types of disciples who wait for their Master to return in verses 35 to 38. Number one, those who make a good preparation by staying dressed up for action. Number two, those who maintain their lamps properly to keep them lit at any time. And number three, those who are so alert that they open the door for their Master whenever he knocks, even at an unexpected time, such as midnight or dawn. Verses 36 to 38 say this: what is your preparation to meet your Master? What is your preparation? Jesus contrasts the faithful disciples with the unfaithful through a parable. The faithful servant in this parable, to whom the Master has entrusted with the definite duties and put in charge of his slaves, is so alert and watchful that the Master finds him doing his duties faithfully on his arrival. Verse 43 says that. On the other hand, the unfaithful manager, who is irresponsible towards his duties, takes advantage of the long delay in his Master's return and indulges in beating other slaves mercilessly. He lives a dissipated life of eating, drinking, and getting drunk, as verse 45 says, exactly like the previous parable's rich fool in chapter 12, verse 19. Are you like him? Are we like him? As stewards or managers of our master's goods, he has entrusted his kingdom and wants us to be responsible and faithful in spreading it. One of the ways to spread his kingdom is by remaining faithful to the duties in our own state of life and carrying them out in a responsible manner. Those who are in married state or religious state of life have to examine whether they are faithful to the promises or vows they made at marriage or ordination or final profession. Students have to examine whether they are faithful to their studies. Employees faithful to their duties. Friends faithful to the trust they pledged to their friends. Children faithful to their duty to love and respect their parents. Leaders faithful to the tasks and responsibilities entrusted to them either in the civil society or in the church or village community. What is faithfulness or fidelity? What does faithfulness or fidelity mean? In the Bible, fidelity means holding fast to a person or a party to which one is bound. Faithfulness to God means making conscious choices for Him and standing up for His cause, come what may. Standing up for His cause, come what may. From the Bible, we come to know that God is always faithful to His promises. If we observe a great crisis, both in married state of life and priesthood or religious life, it is mainly a crisis of unfaithfulness to the promises or commitment they make or to their call and mission, which is ultimately unfaithfulness to God Himself. Unfaithfulness to one's vocation is unfaithfulness to God who has called us to this state of life. Hence, fidelity in these states of life demands a conscious choice or decision to be made every day to forgive, to serve, to care, and to renounce our self-interest, thus holding fast to the cause for which God has called us. We are often tempted not to be faithful to this commitment and to dilute our cause under the influence of modern secularization or social pressure. In addition, we are also inclined to make the two great mistakes made by the unfaithful steward in today's gospel. Verse 45. Number 1, doing what he liked with his master's goods by behaving in an irresponsible manner. Number 2, taking it easy and thinking that the master is absent and will not return soon. However, our God is a God of surprises and unexpectedness. He comes at an unexpected time and without prior warning. He comes like a thief, as verse 39 says, to find us either faithful in our duties or unfaithful. We need to be vigilant and prepared to meet the Lord when He comes unexpectedly by exhibiting greater responsibility. Here is a warning for all leaders, superiors, parents, teachers, students, clergy, and religious. Whether we succumb to the temptation of easygoing mentality, neglect our duties, postponement of tasks and decisions, and sleeping over our responsibilities. Do we misuse our powers and do what we like, as that unfaithful servant did? When the master arrives, will we be worthy to be called blessed servant, as verse 43 says? There is a further warning in today's gospel to those of us who have undergone higher education, longer period of training, and rigorous spiritual formation, or are blessed with better talents, privileges, and opportunities. They are called to be more accountable and better performers. Can they give excuse for not doing their best when the Lord comes? Can they? A prayer. O Lord of surprises and unexpectedness, You are always faithful to Your promises. Grant that we may remain vigilant and prepared to meet You when you come at any time to reward our